just having a seat at the table is not inclusion. Making someone feel invited is
Mm.
inclusion. Making sure that they are wanted and they know that they are wanted, that their opinions, their values, their perspectives are valued and invited in and included in, not just saying that the door is open, but doing things and doing the things that are necessary to make someone feel like they can be a part of.
But I wanted to read some headlines that underscore the urgency of today's conversation. Is that cool? So ABC News had a headline that states, "How Corporate America is Slashing DEI Workers Amid Backlash to Diversity Programs." We have the Wall Street Journal says, "The legal assault on corporate diversity efforts has begun." Bloomberg says, "U.S. companies cut diversity teams. Does DEI even matter in corporate America?" Let's keep it going. BBC says, "U.S. business leaders are pushing back against years of corporate diversity efforts." New York Times says, "DEI has gone quiet." And the one that was very riveting to me, AP News says, "As diversity, equity, and inclusion comes under legal attack, companies quietly are altering their DEI programs." So when we talk about the urgency and the crucial conversation that's needed, I'm grateful that you all showed up today. So Columbus, if you could just make a little bit of noise for yourself for showing up to an amazing conversation. I know DEI means so much to so many different people, so I want to level set the space that we're in. This is absolutely a safe space where your unique perspective not just matters, it's essential to the conversation. And the way I want to demonstrate this, since we are in the great state of Ohio, can I get an OH? So when I hold this shoe out in front of you all, the side of this shoe that you see is not what I see. If I asked you to describe what you see around this singular subject, you would vocalize something that I don't see. I would be absolute foolish to say you're incorrect hearing what you are articulating about what you see just because I'm not coming from the same perspective. So I just want to encourage the room today. You might hear some things that affirms your stance. You might hear some things that, cause you to ponder and reconsider, but I want to just underscore this is a safe space. We are family, and this conversation needs to happen. So, without further ado, I want to get out of your way, and I want to introduce the host of this evening. I have the distinct honor of serving alongside of him. Phenomenal leader, phenomenal, tenacious enthusiast around ensuring our city is connected and that these spaces exist for us to come together. So, ladies and gentlemen, can you please put your hands together and invite Dr. Bertley to the stage, please?
And so today's topic is DEI under siege. You heard the incredible headlines from some of the top publications, print, TV, you name it, how they're talking about DEI today. And so we're going to get into that deeply. But the other aspect of Science Beats Society is it's always important that we bring an expert in the space. I'm just a moderator, TC is just a moderator, and it's our pleasure, my pleasure, to introduce today's expert, none other than President Shannon Hardin. 15 years of giving his soul to the community as an elected official. So good to have you. I know everybody knows you, but so good to have President of City Council, Shannon Hardin. Let's just jump right into it, President Hardin.
Sure.
You saw the video.
Yep.
What does DE&I mean to you?
Well, first I saw the video and I realized you have a puppet, which is pretty cool. And I'm like,
You have to have thick skin where I work.
Yeah,
They
but
like
I'm
to
saying-
clown you wherever you go.
don't ever make your employees mad, or they're gonna make your puppet do like all kinds of. You're gonna see this video. Of you like,
They're here. Please
Yeah,
don't give them
yeah.
ideas.
No, but thank you first for these conversations, for using your platform to educate us, to challenge us, to bring us together, and hopefully to make us more socially conscious so that we can be better. For me, diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think it's probably best to break down each one of them. You hit diversity, and really allowing us to understand that it is um, the individual pieces that make us whole.
Mhm.
That each individual piece is different, but together it does create a picture of who we are. The equity we all know in this room is different than equality. That equity is making sure that we are filling in the gaps of where there are deficiencies or there are needs, and so what one person may need might be different than another person's needs. And the equity piece is making sure that as a community we are filling that gap for that specific need, not trying to disperse support equally,
Mhm.
but making sure that folks have an equal opportunity in as we fill that gap. And inclusion to me is something that is exciting, because inclusion to me is and really how I think about all DE and I is really for the good of everybody. Including just having a seat at the table is not inclusion. Making someone feel invited is
Mm.
inclusion. Making sure that they are wanted and they know that they are wanted, that their opinions, their values, their perspectives are valued and invited in and included in, not just saying that the door is open, but doing things and doing the things that are necessary to make someone feel like they can be a part of. That's how I look at
You know,
DEI.
I think that's so important, and I want to pick up on that last point about making sure you don't just have a seat at the table, but the micro environment, whether it's a corporate or non-for-profit or whatever space you're in, is providing you landscape support to
Yes.
listen to you and hear you. And I think, and we'll get into this, and we're going to have a whole bunch of questions and time for you all audience to participate. But you know, you heard those headlines that TC read, and maybe, just maybe, if it's failing, which I have my personal perspective, it's not, but
Mhm,
if it's
mhm.
failing, maybe it's because just giving someone a position, to your point, is not enough. And they haven't really invested in this whole other infrastructure.
Right, and I think that, and it's funny that you call me an expert in this space. I would not say that. I think that I am going along and learning and experiencing this environment the same as everyone in this room. I would it would I maybe I can be a mirror and kind of mirror what we have all seen over the last 4 years, which to me has been whiplash, where we were not having these conversations. We're not allowed to have these conversations. 2020 comes, then we're all having these conversations. It was the in vogue thing to do. It was what every company had felt they had to do to stay relevant. And that probably is the issue. They were chasing relevancy versus really inclusion and the work that would come behind it. And then we saw the whiplash of that just go away. And it's almost been in real time, a real time example of the pendulum swings of society,
Mhm.
of how what we said we wanted, I say we big as a community, we got it, and then we said, oh no, we actually don't want that.
Sure.
And the issue I think, or the opportunity I think that we have with D and I work is, um, this is not something I just think of the majority community, but all of us. We don't do something unless we see the value in it for ourselves. And I think that what why it seemed like it's fleeting now is that folks didn't buy in to, businesses did not buy into, governments did not buy into that DE and I was actually good for, to your point, to the bottom line.
Mhm.
Like you're not doing this for altruistic reasons even.
Mhm.
Like you're not doing this because you feel bad for or want to, but that it is actually good for you and your company and your end product to have diversity at the table.
Mhm.
And because we didn't, because that point I don't think sunk into folks, it was easily able to be either hidden, set aside, or kind of mellowed out. And you have seen that happen in every industry. And I can even speak from the perspective of government. I sit on the executive committee of the National League of Cities. We represent 19,000 local elected officials from around the country. NLC created it was called REAL, Race Equity program in 2020. 21 and 2020 and 2021, it was the number one actually money generator for our organization. Every city signed up for
Wow.
the Real Institute. We are closing the Real Institute this year because cities stopped signing up for that work.
We're going to dive into the political angle in
Yeah.
a little bit more. By the way, he said humbly, he's not an expert. A couple of things. He just said he led a task force that oversaw 19,000, not people, elected officials who obviously speak for millions of people or represent millions of people under that. And then two, and I don't throw, compliments like that. My team will tell you I don't throw them easily, but my team knows many of them well earned. But the other reason why I say you're an expert, 15 years, despite how young you are, 15 years as an elected official, but I think back to the civil rights. We've all seen those images of fire hosing individuals and dogs biting. Well, there's a classic 2020 image or 2021 where he, Congresswoman Beatty and somebody else is literally being maced by police. And the photo went viral. And you take that picture and you put it next to somebody from the 1960s and civil rights. These are people who walk the talk. And as Bob Marley says, he who feels it knows it best. And that's why I say your experience, you've carried the cross, as they say.